Sitting at my desk, I couldn't help but reflect on the 30 years since Emily and I got married. Our honeymoon stood out vividly in my mind. We had spent it in the Bahamas, a time that still brings warmth to my heart. It was a magical chapter, one that I will always treasure. From the moment we landed, it felt like we had escaped to a paradise, leaving the chaos of everyday life far behind. Walking along the soft sands of Nassau Beach, with the gentle waves lapping at our feet, we were wrapped in a blanket of beauty. The air was filled with the sweet scent of hibiscus, a constant reminder of the love and peace that enveloped us. But it wasn't just the scenery that made our honeymoon special. It was the adventures we shared together. We ventured into dense jungles, uncovering hidden waterfalls that felt like secret treasures of nature. We stood in awe of the stunning landscapes around us, feeling a profound connection to each other and the world. Our cliffside retreat in Freeport offered breathtaking views that seemed to stretch into infinity. Each evening, the sky transformed into a vibrant tapestry as the sun set, and we held each other close, our hearts brimming with love and devotion. Candlelit dinners on the beach, under a canopy of stars, became our nightly ritual, enjoying fresh seafood and local delicacies. The true magic was in the love that sparkled in Emily's eyes. The Bahamas wasn't just a vacation spot, it became a cornerstone of our love story, filled with precious moments and dreams. Reflecting on our honeymoon, I realized how much it deepened our bond and rekindled our love. Those memories bring immense joy and gratitude even after 30 years. My secretary's voice interrupted my thoughts, catching me gazing out the window. "Mark, what has got you in such a good mood? Did you win the lottery?" she teased. I laughed, realizing I had been unusually cheerful lately. I explained that Emily had been particularly loving and attentive, making me feel cherished all over again. It felt like a second honeymoon, and I was eager to spend more time with her, feeling like a smitten teenager. I didn't want this newfound happiness to fade. Although Emily and I have a solid marriage, 30 years can turn excitement into routine. Yet recently, Emily had been especially affectionate, reigniting parts of our relationship that had been dormant for years. I never suspected there was any motive beyond rekindling our love. I decided to surprise her with a special evening. Leaving work early, I picked up 24 roses, her favorite wine, and some chocolate-covered strawberries. Tonight, I plan to show her just how much I appreciated her and surprise her with a 7-night cruise to celebrate our enduring love. Entering the house through the garage, I climbed the kitchen steps and found our daughter, Chloe, sitting at the table instead of Emily. I kissed her forehead and asked, "Hey, sweetheart, where's your mom?" 2 weeks earlier, Chloe had a serious talk with her mother. "I love your dad so much, and I'm scared that if I go through with this, I'll hurt him," Emily confessed. "Mom, Dad loves you and he'll understand. You said you need something more than what you have now, and Dad isn't getting any younger. He'll understand your needs and let you have this one-time pleasure. I can tell your dad that I am going on a date with another man. It is impossible. Then let me handle it. Ethan will be waiting for you at the restaurant at 7:00 p.m., and you will be ready to leave by 6:00. When Dad gets home, I'll explain everything, and you will get the experience you want." "Honey, I agreed to this date, but I have serious doubts. This feels so wrong. How can I look your father in the eye for the next 2 weeks knowing I've agreed to go out with another man? Don't tell him anything. Show him how much you love him during these 2 weeks. Let him know he has nothing to worry about. When I explain everything, he'll understand. It's not about love, just new friendships and a bit of fun. Reach out to him, rock his world, and when I explain it that evening, he'll welcome you back with open arms. Dad loves you and is willing to do anything for you. He's always given you what you wanted, showing his love. Maybe you're right. It's just one date, and it doesn't mean I am leaving Dad for another man. Having a fun night out 30 years later shouldn't be a problem. I'll show Dad how wonderful he is and how much I love him every night until date night. Then when I get back, I'll try to make him the happiest man in the world. Mom, just make him feel loved and appreciated. He is a great guy and will give you this one-of-a-kind experience. Now I have to get home and cook dinner for Mike. Thanks, baby. Say hi to Mike. When will you and Mike start a family? Emily asked Chloe as she was getting ready to leave. Soon, Mom. We've talked about it and plan to start trying in a few months, Chloe replied, giving her mother a warm hug before heading out. With Chloe gone, Emily found herself alone in her art studio, staring at a blank canvas. Thoughts of another man had clouded her creativity recently. However, Chloe's words echoed in her mind, and suddenly her brushes moved fluidly, bringing vibrant and emotional scenes to life. Feeling confident in her decision, Emily took a deep breath, letting a wave of calm replace her guilt. Liam might be upset at first, but I can make him understand how much I cherish him. He's been an incredible husband and father. I'll show him my love in ways I never have before, she thought. That evening, Emily decided to surprise me. After her shower, she put on my favorite nightgown, styled her hair, and applied makeup. When I walked through the door, she greeted me warmly, leading me to the bedroom. There, she undressed me and showed me affection in ways I hadn't experienced in years. Her actions made me smile, filling her with happiness and making her wonder why she hadn't done this sooner. This is the best welcome home I have had in ages. What's the occasion? I asked, pleasantly surprised. Honey, I just wanted to remind you how special you are and how much I love you. Did you enjoy it? She asked softly. I did. It's been so long I forgot how much I missed it, I replied, feeling deeply content. She pulled me onto the bed and we shared passionate kisses for what felt like hours. This renewed intimacy was the most fulfilling we had experienced in years, causing Emily to rethink her plans with Ethan. Over the next few weeks, our connection deepened. I became a happier man, constantly smiling, laughing, and showing affection. Emily found herself in a better place than she had been in a long time and began to reconsider her planned date night. She even discussed the positive changes with Chloe, questioning if she still needed to go through with her original plans. Mom, this is wonderful, but don't cancel just yet. Let's see how the next 2 weeks go. Enjoy each other and see where it leads. You don't need to cancel now. We can reassess in 2 weeks. You can always cancel last minute if needed, but remember this chance might not come again, Chloe advised. All right, maybe you were right. Remind me about Ethan's situation. I know he is your friend's father, but I need more details, Emily requested. Sure, Mom. When his wife Anna was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, he took time off work to care for her until she passed. She was the love of his life, and after her death he was devastated. He became withdrawn and focused only on work. When Anna and I suggested he start dating, he admitted he didn't know how to be with anyone else, Chloe explained. Hearing Ethan's story made Emily realize she might have a solution for both of them. Chloe described Ethan's deep admiration for her mother and his longing for companionship. She recounted their conversations and Ethan's eagerness to meet Emily. Mom, he thinks you were wonderful and would love to spend time with you. I'll give him your number and you two can arrange to meet. He is about 10 years younger than you, but I know you'll get along well. He just needs someone to talk to and befriend, and I believe you can help each other, Chloe said encouragingly. The next day, Ethan called Emily, and after a delightful conversation, he invited her to dinner. When he complimented her photo and expressed his excitement about their meeting, she felt a surge of excitement herself. The thrill of doing something new and his flattering words gave her butterflies. She agreed to meet him and said she was looking forward to it. Ethan offered to pick her up, but she preferred to meet him at the restaurant. They texted each other daily, their exchanges becoming more playful as the meeting approached. By the time the day arrived, Emily's text messages would not have passed the simplest test of loyalty. She was constantly excited, imagining what lay ahead. Despite this, she tried not to neglect me and put more effort into our intimate moments each evening. I walked around with a grin on my face, and Emily moved with a newfound desire. This new level of connection exceeded her wildest dreams. I adored our daughter and thought she was the most beautiful girl in the world. I was so proud of the woman she had become. I wished I had spent more time with her as she grew up, but I worked hard to provide a good life and tried to be there for her as much as possible. I smiled when I saw her, but felt a bit surprised. Sweetheart, what are you doing here? And where is your mom? I asked, setting down the 24 roses, a bottle of wine, and a box of chocolates. "I've got a special surprise for your mom tonight and can't wait to see her," I said, reaching into my jacket pocket to pull out travel plans and tickets for a 7-day cruise. "I am taking your mom away on a 7-day cruise, and I can't wait to see the look on her face," I added, beaming with anticipation. "When she gets back, Don T let on that you know anything. I want to surprise her," I told Chloe, picturing Emily's happiness. Hearing Chloe call me Dad always brought back memories of her childhood, but today, something was off. Her eyes were red from crying, and she looked genuinely distressed. "Dad, we need to talk," she said, her voice shaking as a tear slid down her cheek. Alarmed, I asked, "What's going on? Is something wrong with Mom?" "No, Mom's is fine. Please just sit down and listen," she replied. Taking a deep breath, she continued, "Dad, you know how much Mom loves you. She told me things have been really good between you two lately." "Yes, and I love her too. That's why I am planning this surprise," I said, trying to comfort her. Seeing her tears, I knew something serious was coming. "I'm really sorry, Dad, but Mom went out with another man tonight." I sat there in shock, struggling to process her words. Anger started to build as Chloe continued to cry. "Chloe, what are you talking about? Where is your mother?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Mom loves you very much, Dad, and I hope you want to take this the wrong way. But she's with another man tonight and wants to be back until tomorrow. She couldn't face telling you herself, so I offered to break the news because she didn't want to hurt you. It's just one night and she'll be back tomorrow. Is this a bad joke? Your mother would never do this to me. We've been so close and happy. This can't be happening, Dad. She loves you. She just needed something different in her life, at least once, after 30 years of marriage. Nothing between you two is changing, except she might love you even more for understanding." I stared at my daughter, a mix of disbelief and rage churning inside me. "Chloe, why are you involved in this? Your mother should never have put you in this position. I should be talking to her, not you. How did she drag you into this?" "Dad, Mom and I have always been close. She said things had become routine between you two, and she no longer felt the spark. My friend S. Dad lost his wife a few years ago and needed someone to connect with, so I introduced them," she admitted quietly. I jumped up from my chair, nearly knocking it over. "Are you serious? You set your mother up on a date with another man? Is that what you're telling me?" Chloe lowered her head, unable to meet my gaze. Meanwhile, I paced the room, trying to comprehend the situation. "Damn it, Chloe, answer me," I shouted, standing over her. "Did you arrange this? Is my wife your mother on a date with your friend S. Dad because of you?" At my outburst, Chloe flinched. "I am really sorry, Dad." "Yes, I did. It sounds awful when you put it like that, but I was trying to help a friend." "Help a friend? What about me? What about our family? How could you do this?" I demanded, my voice rising with each word. "Where is she now? And why did you say she wanted to be back until tomorrow?" "They went to a restaurant. I don't know which one. Then they were spending the night together just this once." "She'll be back tomorrow, Dad. She loves you. She's been telling me for the past 2 weeks how much she loves you and doesn't want you to be hurt. It is just one night. She thought you'd understand and give her this one chance. So that's it? I thought her newfound affection over the last 2 weeks was genuine, but now you're saying it was just her way of easing her guilt? This isn't going to end well, I assure you." Tears streamed down Chloe's face. "Dad, it's not like that. She never pretended or tried to hurt you. She wanted to show you how much she loves you. Can't you give her one night? You know she loves you and can imagine life without you. She talked about looking forward to your retirement and spending time with your grandchildren. Jake and I plan to have kids, and we need you both. Isn't it ironic? That dream ended when she agreed to go out with someone else." "Who is this guy?" I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "He's my friend Anna's dad. He is really nice, and I think you do like him." "Oh, great. So I am supposed to be friends with the guy who's dating my wife? Maybe we can be drinking buddies and I can let him borrow your mom on weekends. Is that your plan for me?" I snapped. Chloe slumped into her chair, the weight of her mistake sinking in. My words hit her hard, shaking her to her core. After pacing the room, I managed to regain some control, turning to my daughter, my voice filled with venom, my pain and anguish clear. Listen carefully, Chloe. Leave now. I need time to process what you and your mother have done to me. I don't want to see or hear from you. No calls, no messages. Your betrayal is unforgivable. You are dead to me, understand? I am no longer your father, and you are no longer my daughter. Get out of my house and never speak to me again. Chloe wept openly, her head in her hands. Dad, please don't say that. I love you and I want to stay here tonight. Mom and I planned for me to stay with you. We don't want you to be alone. The disrespect you've shown makes me question if you ever truly respected or loved me as your father. You are just like your mother. I worked tirelessly to provide for you both, and this is the thanks I get? Turns out you never cared. You both see me as nothing more than a provider, never respecting me for who I am, I snapped, my anger palpable. Amid her sobs, Chloe pleaded, Dad, please listen, I love you. Let Mom explain everything tomorrow. You've had 30 wonderful years together. Give her this one chance and she won to leave you. She loves you. She can have whatever she wants, but she has lost me forever. Forgiveness is out of the question. Everyone involved will face consequences, especially the man who took her out. Now go. You've shown your true colors. You still have your mother, but you've lost me as your father. Tears streaming down her face, Chloe fled the house, overwhelmed by a pain she'd never experienced. She couldn't believe her father's reaction was so severe. For the first time, she realized she might have gone too far in helping her mom. She knew he loved them both, but his fury was undeniable, and she prayed for his forgiveness. As soon as Chloe left, I tried calling Emily's cell, but it went straight to voicemail. I left several messages begging her to call back and come home. When my calls went unanswered, even after a few drinks, I resorted to texting her, pleading for a response. Still, nothing. By 2:00 a.m., I realized she wasn't coming back or answering my calls. Exhausted and wallowing in self-pity, I stared blankly at the TV, bombarded with bleak news. My world had turned into a nightmare. I reflected on our 30-year marriage, the highs, the lows, the milestones, and the intimacy that had once been frequent but had become routine. Despite our predictable sex life, there were no complaints. We always embraced and drifted off in each other's arms. We exchanged "I love you" daily and rarely argued, yet now it seemed those words held little significance. Looking out at the art studio I built for Emily, her sanctuary for 2 decades, I realized it meant more to her than I did. Though proud of her achievements, I felt sidelined. Her happiness had always mattered most to me, but Chloe's revelation hit me hard. Learning she wanted to be with another man blindsided me, and despite my hard work to support my family, I failed to see she wasn't happy. It hurt knowing she shared her feelings with Chloe instead of me, fueling my anger and humiliation. Reflecting on my life, home, and future, I remembered the house and property I inherited from my grandfather, solely in my name before our marriage, with no mortgage. Fueled by alcohol and fury, I plotted ways to hurt Emily like she hurt me. Staring out at her studio, a surge of determination washed over me, whether from alcohol or the pain of betrayal. With renewed vigor, I sprang into action. I made countless trips to our bedroom, gathering all her belongings and relocating them to the studio. Shoes, clothes, jewelry, all piled in the center. I then gathered photo albums, including our wedding pictures, placing them on top of the heap. Remembering items in the attic, I retrieved them, adding her wedding dress, baby clothes, and more to the growing pile. It amazed me how much she had accumulated over the years. I took down her pictures from the walls and tossed them onto the heap sculptures, sketches, all her cherished possessions now part of the ever-expanding mound. By 5:00 a.m., I felt tense, but decided to wait until 6:00 a.m., giving her a chance to return or respond to my calls and messages. If I didn't hear back, I'd go through with my plan. I double-checked the house, making sure everything important to her was in the studio. At 5:30, I grabbed a 20-liter gasoline can from the garage and headed to the studio, preparing for 6:00 a.m. Meanwhile, I went online, canceled our joint credit cards, transferred money to my account, withdrew cash from the safe, and packed a few suitcases, loading them into my truck. I planned to stay away until the lawyers sorted things out. Giving her another 5 minutes to return at 6:05, with my last hope fading, I poured gasoline over the pile and along the studio walls. After a deep breath and brief hesitation, I lit a match, igniting her belongings. The fire spread quickly, visible from the street. Before I could escape, her world was engulfed in flames. Driving along the highway, a profound realization hit me, accentuated by my distraught state. Overwhelmed by sorrow, tears streamed down my face. It dawned on me that my once happy marriage had met the same fate as the studio, consumed by flames. Unexpectedly, the fire spread to the back porch, endangering the house. Thankfully, firefighters arrived quickly, saving the house from complete destruction, though it suffered significant smoke damage and would need extensive repairs before it could be lived in again. Meanwhile, I checked into a motel 90 miles away from the charred remnants of my marriage, paying in cash to avoid detection. Exhausted and overwhelmed, I turned off my phone and collapsed into bed, falling into a deep sleep until noon. When I checked my phone, I found dozens of missed calls and texts from Chloe, Emily, and even the sheriff. Earlier, Emily S.'s account of her evening played in my mind. She had exited the Uber to meet Ethan at the restaurant, her nerves mingling with excitement. The man waiting for her at the reception desk gave her a warm smile. He appreciated her little black dress, sheer tights, and matching high heels. His gaze lingered on her neckline, boosting her confidence. She had spent hours at the salon that day, making sure her hair and makeup were perfect for this thrilling, unforgettable, and flawless night. His reaction reassured her as they greeted with a gentle kiss before heading to the bar. As they sat on the bar stools, Emily noticed Ethan S.'s eyes trailing her nylon-covered legs when she stood up. They exchanged smiles as he ordered their drinks, and she decided to switch off her phone to avoid any interruptions, determined to savor every moment of this one-time event. The chemistry between them was undeniable. They talked like old friends, and Emily found herself touching his arm and flirting in ways she rarely did with anyone, even with me. She was set on embracing her confidence and enjoying the evening. After their second drink, the hostess informed them that their table was ready. During dinner, they enjoyed delightful conversation and time together. When Ethan asked if she wanted to spend the night with him, Emily teasingly placed her foot between his legs, making his smile widen. They held hands as he led her to his pre-booked hotel room. As the elevator doors opened on the 14th floor, the reality of her actions hit her, and fleeting thoughts of me crossed her mind. Sensing her hesitation, Ethan pulled her close and gave her a tender, reassuring kiss. In that moment, all thoughts of her husband and marriage faded away. She was ready to embrace and enjoy this experience. Once inside the room, Ethan wasted no time unzipping her dress. As it fell to the floor, he quickly shed his own clothes, spinning her around to admire her appearance. He removed her bra before laying her on the bed. The experience was intensely sensual and loving, making her eager for what would come next. Kneeling, she admired his physique, and he swiftly removed her pantyhose, insisting she put her heels back on, finding them alluring. Throughout their intimacy, he showered her with kisses, displaying remarkable skill. Although fleeting thoughts of me crossed her mind, she pushed them away, focusing on the man in front of her. Locking eyes, he whispered, "I love you, Emily." His unexpected declaration deeply touched her, evoking a rush of emotions that moved her to tears of joy. They made love several times that night, and once more in the morning, each encounter as passionate as the last. It was the pinnacle of her sexual experiences, and she felt content having allowed it with Ethan. As thoughts of me intruded, Emily endeavored to focus on Ethan's embrace. Bathed in sunlight filtering through the curtains, he tenderly kissed her and caressed her hair. "Emily, I meant what I said last night. You're incredible, so sensual and sexy. I think I love you. I want to spend more time with you. Can we see each other again?" Apprehension gripped her as she responded gently, "Ethan, it was amazing, and you're a wonderful man. But I am married, and I can repeat this. It was a one-time thing, and I cherished it. You were fantastic, a great lover, and I relished every moment. Emily, please consider it before you reject me. Your husband doesn't need to know, and I can make you happy. Just think about it. "I'll think about it, but for now this is all I can offer," she replied with another deep kiss. He held her close, and she surrendered to his embrace. If she weren't married to me, she'd be with Ethan in a heartbeat. But I was her husband, and she hoped I could forgive her for what she had done. After breakfast, Ethan drove her home. Emily decided to turn on her phone, which had been off since the previous night. To her shock, it was flooded with missed calls and texts. Among them, my messages hit her the hardest, inducing a sharp sense of guilt. Realizing my suffering brought tears to her eyes. Just as they entered her neighborhood, her phone rang. It was Chloe, urgently asking where she was. Emily reassured her that she was nearly home, only to be informed of a fire at our house. They had been trying to reach her all night, but her phone had been off. Her concern shifted to me, who, according to Chloe, was missing. No one knew where I was, and I wasn't responding to calls. With a sinking feeling, she promised to call back as soon as she arrived, deeply troubled by the unfolding situation. When Ethan turned the corner onto her street, she saw the remnants of the fire and firefighters still working. As I arrived, I saw fire trucks and police cars swarming our property. Though the front of the house looked intact, I approached the firefighters with trepidation. "Are you the homeowner?" one of them asked. "Yes, I am Emily Harper," I replied, my voice unsteady. "Mrs. Harper, we managed to save the main house, but the back porch is heavily damaged. It's not safe to stay here until the smoke is cleaned out. The studio behind your home, however, is completely destroyed." My legs buckled and Ethan caught me, guiding me to sit on the curb. "My studio? Is it really gone?" I asked, my voice hollow. "Yes, Mrs. Harper, it is all gone. We are investigating the cause, but the police detective needs to ask you some questions." I quickly stood and ran to the back, but Sergeant Taylor intercepted me as I stared at the charred ruins of my studio. Immediately, I suspected that Liam had done this out of rage. "Mrs. Harper, do you know what happened here?" asked Sergeant Taylor. "No, I wasn't here last night. I have no idea what happened," I replied, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Are you her husband?" the sergeant asked Ethan. "No, just a friend," Ethan said, clearly uncomfortable. The sergeant eyed us both suspiciously. "Where is your husband, Mrs. Harper?" "I don't know. He's not answering his phone," I said, my voice trembling. "And where were you last night?" he continued. "I was with Ethan at a hotel," I admitted, realizing how incriminating this sounded. "Are you and your husband separated?" the sergeant asked. "No, we are not separated. We were." "Happily married," I stammered, realizing how absurd I sounded. "Do you know where he might be now?" Sergeant Taylor pressed. "No, I really don't. He's not responding to any calls," I said, feeling increasingly desperate. "We need to speak with him." "When you reach him, please give him my number," the sergeant said, handing me his business card. I was overwhelmed with a mix of fear and anger, fear of Liam's reaction and anger at the loss of my studio and everything inside it. I needed to find him and talk to him. I called Chloe. "Chloe, do you know where your father is?" "No, Mom. I haven't heard from him since last night. Why didn't you stay with him like we planned?" "He threw me out, Mom. He said I was no longer his daughter," she replied, her voice breaking. Hearing those words sent a chill through my body. Liam saying something like that was unimaginable. Entering the house, I saw the smoke damage on the walls and smelled the acrid odor hanging in the air. Living here was impossible. As I moved through the house, I decided to gather clothes and personal items for a few days. However, when I reached the bedroom, I was shocked to find everything gone. Panic surged through me as I realized all my clothes, shoes, and personal belongings were missing. I checked my nightstand for my wedding rings, only to find them gone. Why had I left them behind? If Liam saw them, he might think I had abandoned him in our marriage. How foolish and selfish of me. In a state of panic, I frantically searched every room only to find everything of mine was gone. A dreadful thought crossed my mind. Had Liam truly destroyed everything? Was there nothing left? Rushing out of the house, I returned to the studio's remains. Among the debris, I spotted picture frames and partially destroyed clothing. It was clear Liam had not just accepted my absence, but had obliterated everything important to me, cutting me out of his life. I called Chloe in tears, recounting what had happened, and expressing my need for a place to stay. Ethan quickly offered me a place, but he was the last person I wanted to see. Politely, I declined, explaining that I needed to be alone and asked him to leave. Hurt by my abruptness, he left, leaving me to regret my actions and the man I had spent the night with. Though I knew I was at fault, I couldn't help but blame him for my selfish betrayal, even though the true blame lay with me. "Chloe, I think I have lost your father," I said, sobbing. "Mom, dawned to say that. Dad loves you, honey. He burned everything. My clothes, paintings, and studio, everything. He left me with nothing, not even a place to live. He's ignoring my calls. I have hurt him the most, and I don't blame him. What I did is unforgivable. I should have talked to him instead of going on that date. We could have worked things out, but my selfishness drove him away. If I were him, I wouldn't take me back. What do I do now? I have no home, no clothes. Mom, don't blame yourself. I share some of the blame, too. You can stay with us until your house is repaired," Chloe offered, her voice comforting. Tears streamed down my face as I accepted her offer, feeling lost and broken. I felt the full weight of my actions as Chloe tried to console me, saying, "We'll buy you some new clothes this afternoon and get you settled tonight." "Chloe, it's not just the clothes. All my artwork, my paintings and sculptures, they are all gone. 30 years of marriage and 2 decades of my creativity all destroyed. I feel utterly devastated and alone," I sobbed openly, attracting curious stares from the neighbors. "Oh God, your father is calling. I need to take this," I said, fumbling with my phone. My hands shook so much I nearly dropped it. "Liam, is that you? Hi, Emily, how are you?" His voice was cold and distant. "Liam, where are you? Please come home, we need to talk." "No, Emily, I know everything from Chloe. Yes, your daughter, not mine. You both are dead to me, and this might be our final conversation. Liam, please don't say that. I love you. You have to know that. The studio is gone, Liam. Did you do this?" "It wasn't me, Emily. You did this with your lies and betrayal. When I saw your wedding rings discarded and knew you were with another man, you died to me. Your actions are unforgivable, and Chloe's involvement is beyond belief. We are finished. I'll meet with lawyers on Monday to start the divorce process." "Please, Liam, can we talk this out? You can just throw away our 30 years together. We are talking, and I am not the one who threw away our 30 years. You did, with your deceit and treachery. No one could accept or forgive what you have done. This is our last conversation. You can reach me through my attorney's contact details, which will come with the divorce papers. Goodbye, Emily." "Liam, no, wait." But he had already hung up. My world was shattered. Chloe arrived just as I ended the call. We hugged each other, crying over our loss. Knowing we couldn't stay in the wreckage of my home while the investigation continued, we headed to Chloe's house. Once there, she explained everything to Jake, who was shocked by the details. Chloe tried to justify it, but when Jake learned that she had set up a date for her friend's father with her own mother, he was appalled and furious. "Chloe, you arranged a date for your mom with another man, knowing Dad would be left alone? How could you think he'd ever accept that? What kind of husband lets his wife date someone else? Is this what you all do to me when we were older, betray me like Mom did to Dad? He was a good man, and you and Mom were his entire world. What have you done, Chloe? You've destroyed a good man and pushed him to unimaginable actions. I can't believe you'd be so reckless. I need time to think about our future. For now, having kids with you is off the table until I figure out where we stand." His anger left her stunned. She was taken aback by his inability to understand her mother's situation. It was just one date after 30 years of marriage, for heaven's sake. Later, she realized the real issue was the collapse of her parents' marriage, her father's devastation, and her mother's broken happiness. Soon they would all face the repercussions of her actions. 5 grueling days later, I returned to assess the damage. I decided against filing an insurance claim to avoid further complications. During my meeting with the lawyer, I insisted that the house was mine and non-negotiable. Emily could have half our savings, but no alimony. If she resisted, I'd sue for adultery, exposing her affair with her daughter's friend's father. Divorce papers were already in motion. I also sought advice on criminal arson charges, but learned that without an insurance claim, it likely wouldn't proceed unless I made a false report. A neighbor who knew Chloe called her when she saw me return home. Chloe hurried over. I was inspecting the damage and figuring out what repairs were needed when I heard the front door open. "Dad, Dad, where are you?" Chloe's voice echoed through the house. I stayed silent, focused on the damage. Looking out the window at the pile of ashes that was once Emily's studio, I couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. Chloe found me in one of the bedrooms and rushed over, wrapping me in a hug. "Daddy, I am so sorry. Please forgive us. We love you. Chloe, I can forgive either of you. I already said not to talk to me again. Please let me go and leave me alone. You say you are my daughter and that I must forgive you. Listen, you're no longer my daughter, just someone who betrayed me. Now leave me alone. Dad, Mom needs you. She's living with us and misses you terribly. She cries all the time and wants to apologize for her mistake. Can you come to our house and see her?" Never. When she went on that date and stayed with another man, our marriage ended. She even left her wedding rings behind, sealing the end of our marriage. It's over. I want to speak to her again. You both can contact me through my lawyer. I am changing my phone number today. For now, go be with your mother," I said coldly. "Dad, are you really willing to throw away 30 years with Mom?" Chloe pleaded. "I am not the one who threw it away, Chloe. Your mother destroyed our life the moment she took off her rings and went to another man. You and your mother shattered my happiness, and I will never forgive or forget that. Now get out of my house." For the second time, Chloe fled from her childhood home in tears. Her father's words, declaring she was no longer his daughter, were a blow that therapy couldn't mend. The next day, Emily received divorce papers, realizing her affair had irreparably damaged her marriage. She tried to reason with Liam, suggested counseling, and made multiple attempts to reach out, but all efforts were futile. He had severed all ties with both her and Chloe. Jake, incensed by their actions, contacted Liam to express his disgust. He reconsidered having children due to Chloe's betrayal, and they entered couples therapy to salvage their marriage. Emily had hoped to return home after the house was repaired, but the divorce made it clear the house was no longer hers. She received half their savings and a modest alimony, although Liam initially resisted. Now she had to find work after 30 years of dependence. She moved from her daughter's place to a small apartment near downtown and started working at a local art gallery. Emily's creative freedom was abruptly curtailed. No longer could she spend hours in her studio or enjoy the lake view from the windows Liam had installed. Work consumed her, leaving little time for her old passions. Her free time vanished, along with the luxury and marital bliss, all for one reckless night with another man. She would never have enough tears to undo the damage. Liam, her ex-husband, would never speak to her again. Knowing he had disowned their daughter broke Chloe's heart, sending her into a deep depression over her parents' split. To save her own crumbling marriage, she sought help from a therapist. Months later, the house was repaired. Liam kept up with court-ordered payments and then sold the house. After the sale, Emily tried to reconcile, only to find a young couple at the door. "Hello, can we help you?" the woman asked. "I'm looking for Liam Harper. Is he here?" "No, he sold us this house and moved on. He was very kind. Are you Emily?" "Yes, that is me. Did he leave anything for me?" "He did. He left an envelope for you," the woman said, handing it over. "Thank you. Enjoy your new home," Emily said, tears streaming as she realized she would never see Liam again. Back in her lonely apartment, she opened the letter with trembling hands. "Dear Emily, 30 years. And I once believed I couldn't be the husband you needed. Clearly, you wanted more excitement. Congratulations on finding it outside our marriage. Those 2 weeks you pretended to be the loving wife were just the calm before the storm, a prelude to your grand betrayal. While I was planning a special night for us, you were with someone else. You didn't just break us, Emily. You obliterated us. I have done us both a favor and disappeared. Dawn to try to find me. I am starting over where your face and our daughter S. Don T. exist. Consider our home another casualty of your selfishness. I sold it, and maybe the new owners can rid it of the stench of betrayal. You want closure? Consider this letter it. Here's to your new beginnings. May they be as fleeting as your loyalty. Farewell from the man who once loved you." Emily thought she had no tears left, but after reading his note, she cried all night, hugging her knees tightly. The thrill and memories of her time with Ethan faded, replaced by regret and sorrow. At 52 and alone, she realized her future without Liam looked bleak. She had traded a life of comfort and love for a moment of reckless pleasure. Liam confronted Ethan late one night just before he was about to leave for Ecuador. When the door opened, Liam barged in, revealing he was the husband of the woman Ethan had been with. Ethan tried to justify his actions, claiming he believed Emily was okay with it and wouldn't have pursued her otherwise. Liam wasn't interested in excuses. Months of pent-up rage exploded. The encounter was brief. Liam wielded a crowbar, and within seconds, Ethan's life was drastically altered. Before leaving for the airport, Liam left Ethan with a stern warning about the dangers of getting involved with a married woman. By the time Ethan reached the emergency room and reported the assault, Liam was already settling into his beachfront apartment in Manab, Ecuador. Detectives learned 2 weeks later that Liam had left the country and realized they couldn't pursue him unless he returned. Even if they found him, Ecuador doesn't extradite for assault charges. Ethan endured a painful recovery with weeks in the hospital. Months of painful rehabilitation followed, the 25 stitches across Ethan's face serving as a permanent reminder of that night. His future uncertain, he knew his old life was over, forever changed by the two women who had pulled him into their scheme to steal another man's wife. He never reached out to Emily or Chloe again. Jake almost left Chloe because of the fallout, but therapy helped her realize the gravity of her mistakes. She promised to be faithful to Jake and committed to their future family. Jake needed 2 years to regain his trust in her before deciding to have children, cautious not to be deceived as her father had been. Liam, keeping his promise, severed all ties with Chloe, her actions costing her his affection permanently. When Emily and Chloe learned about Ethan's assault, they were devastated, the guilt over their roles in the violence adding to the remorse they felt for tearing apart their family. It was a harsh lesson that their choices had consequences far beyond what they had imagined. Their belief that a single indiscretion would preserve their happiness was a profound error, revealing the stark reality that their actions brought enduring sorrow instead. Without Liam, Emily faced a life of loneliness and regret. The dreams of growing old with him and enjoying time with their grandchildren dissolved into painful memories. After Liam stopped the support payments and fled the country, her financial stability crumbled, forcing her to work tirelessly to make ends meet. Night after night, tears became her companion. As for me, I ended up with over $750,000 from selling the house and the savings accumulated over 3 decades. After buying my new place, I looked forward to a serene and comfortable life in Ecuador. The local young women appreciated a generous American, and I enjoyed their company. Half a year after that fateful night, sitting on the beach across from my new home in Puerto Lopez with a chilled beer, I realized that divorce is a part of life. It is okay to part ways and be on your own. What is not okay is staying in a situation where you are not respected or cherished. I'll make sure I never end up in that position again.